righty. Just come in. Mm, Dear God, I ask for your presence as I channel these teachings, as I show up in this episode for the people that find their way here. May they find themselves in the words. May they hear your messages. May their faith increase and their love speak volumes into our world. Amen. Hey guys, welcome to Messages from Heaven. I am your host, Jeannie Street, and I'm thrilled you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about navigating the in-between and tuning into heaven's guidance through our intuition. Okay, great. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. I have lots of notes, so I don't want to miss any point because this is a very deep and very connective episode, and I know you're going to want to take notes, so you might want to grab your journal. Yes. Okay, here we go. So I wanted to lean in with this episode because I have been in this in-between space. And this in-between space, which has been wildly uncomfortable in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to share more about my journey at a later time. But I wanted to share this, highlight this retreat that I had gone to back. It's a while back. So anyways, I'm not calling any leader out. I'm not calling anybody out. What I wanted to share was my personal experience of how I felt in between the space that was wildly uncomfortable. And what I know to be true is that I work with women who are highly intuitive, highly sensitive. Their gifts are heightened. And at times, it can be very confusing about where you are meant to stand, especially when you're in a group of spiritually proclaimed people. They proclaim themselves as being spiritual, and something just doesn't sit right with you where love isn't the forward thing. Love is not the thing that's in the center of the teachings or the center of the dialogue that's happening. Okay, so that's where I want to start. And I want to bring you into the space. I want to bring you into like what it looked like so you can lean in with your senses, because I really want you to tune in with your own ability to navigate this as well. And the reason I want to do this is because this is how we interpret things. This is how we navigate the world. We do this in movie theaters, we do this in conversations, we do this in all types of places. So this little story is for you to lean in with your own understanding. And that is what we find in our own intuition, in our body. Great. Okay, so first things first, my intuition was very heightened, even about going anywhere at this time, because this was before the election. This was before um, things were even more heightened as they are now. The division was high. The calling out of, right side and left side, and the anger and the frustration was really thick. It was like a dense fog. And for me specifically, I knew that I didn't want to be placed in a situation where I was going to have to answer to uh, what my truth is. I wanted to know that, one, politically, I like to keep myself to myself. I like to hold my beliefs because I pray, I ask God. I don't take what the outside world has to say and hold it as truth. I bring it to God. And so I didn't want to have a conversation with anybody at all about what my beliefs are based on what, their findings are, because I believe that every year we're giving, or every 4 years, we're given an opportunity to do this type of work. It's nothing new. We've had elections, for how long? So long. And I I think it is my right to own that, to vote, to lean in with my own discretion, with my own intuition, with my faith, with the things that God shows me. And I think that's really beautiful. And so I feel that was my first understanding of like, I feel in between because I don't want to have these conversations. They're wildly uncomfortable. I don't want to be asked to provide proof because that's a trigger for me. Start to feel unravelly. I don't want to be in the center of dialogue where somebody's trying to convince me of what they know to be true in their body because I believe that they know what they need to know. I believe they have the inner guidance system. And if we're being called into more, we're being called into action, meaning if we see something and say something, and then we're accountable to God, we're showing up and we're making a difference. I think that's one of the most important things we can do. Um, and what I'll say about that is, in my own experience, when I saw something that needed to be said, was I had an experience where I was shopping one day, and I saw a child being neglected by their parent, abused. And so at that time, I knew I had to say something. And my form of saying something wasn't going to be confrontational. What I decided was to take a right action. God led me into a right action for me, for my body, for my life. And that right action was I became a foster parent. I decided through God's guidance, through this view, through this thing that I experienced that felt so unright and unjust. And it was taken care of. I really wanted to say that. Like, there were other people that were able to step forward. It wasn't asked of me to do that. I was asked to give the look, and I did. So I just want to make that real clear. But I was able to then step into right action because I felt in my body, I need something more here. Something more can be done. And at the time, I had been seeing a bunch of visions, having dreams of children. And so, if you've been following me at all for a while, then you know my story. My husband and I became foster parents. We have 4 children of our own when we became foster parents, and we fostered for 6 years and we had 14 children. So that's one way God calls us into action. We see something, we say something, we do something. So at this experience, at this retreat, let's circle back, is I'm at this experience with spiritual women being led by a really beautiful leader, who I believe in my heart is a really great soul. And part of the journeying was really to come into a deepening within ourselves, an understanding of our calling in this world, to be, if you're a mission-led woman, these are the spaces you'll find yourself in with other mission-led leaders. And so when I was there were some things that were happening that felt in my body like there was a separation of, obviously more so than right and left side. It was more of, as a human being, of the ability to pray, of the ability to hold light, of the ability to create pause. Instead, it felt very much like a place open to express a deep rage, anger, a hate. And it was very palpable. It was really, really uncomfortable. And so my intuition was really spiked. I mean, I kind of knew going in something didn't feel right and good. And I kept asking God, is this the place for me? Is this where I'm meant to be? And I kept getting the yes. I kept getting the yes, and I kept feeling it. And I was like, great, I'm gonna go. There's something here for me. And there was plenty there for me. And there was also so much that happened in this one, I'll call it a ceremony, that was a deeper lesson for me. It was a deeper view on, again, how wildly uncomfortable it is to be in the in between. But then it was also like, what is the in between showing me? What is God showing me here in this space where I don't fit in here? Like, this isn't my story. I am not carrying hate for any soul. What I carry is prayer. What I carry is the ability to pray for something, pray over something, pray into something, to hold heaven light where it needs to be in order for humanity as a whole, in order for another person to have the experience of love come to them, because all healing is possible where there is love. Healing is not possible where there is the opposing. That's just the fact. So, as a healer, as a soul who channels love and God, what I know to be true is if we are in agreement with love, then love will be. End of story. If we're opposing, if we're fighting, if we're frustrated, um, then yes, it it can't come to light, our prayer. That doesn't mean that we aren't going to be heightened when we're called into something. I was heightened when I was called into foster care. I was heightened because it's a broken system. I was heightened because the children weren't being cared for in the way that I knew was right and good. And so my voice became the voice that cared for them. So, for instance, uh, the voice of the child that was born addicted to alcohol and cocaine, sent home from the hospital. He was, he had sleep out. He wasn't waking up. He would fall asleep and stop breathing. And it's a very common experience for somebody that's coming off, for a child to be born this way, to have this thing where, and I think it's called something specific, and I can't pull it in my brain right now, where they stop breathing. And so I couldn't just get him the medical care that he needed. I had to go through a system which is phone call after phone call after phone call. Meanwhile, my children and I are we're alarmed to the fact that this baby isn't breathing when he's sleeping. So one child was on board in the back seat, making sure that the baby was doing well when we were driving, and making sure that he was breathing and had hand on the chest and praying over the baby. I was staying up at nights and making sure that I was checking him and holding him. And we did all of these things to to help him. That didn't mean that I wasn't angry or frustrated at the system, because I was, but I was able to pray and keep asking God, what will you have me do? I need another help. I need another help. Bring me to the right person that's going to get this done. And so I stayed with it until I was able to get this child the sleep apnea machine he needed that would keep him, I don't even know if it's called that, but it would basically, you would put it on and it would buzz and wake him up so that he would continue to breathe. On top of that, we also had, he needed some breathing treatments. So he needed some things. And had I not fought for those things, I wouldn't have gotten them for him. So I believe in just action. I believe that we have the ability to use what comes in as a way to get things done. That's just one storyline, right? Like, uh, there are many people that are in the peace ways, and they do really big things in our world to make differences for people. I believe in that. I believe God will move people to take that right action. Okay, and in my world, and in my light, and in my motherhood, that's how God used me. So in this experience, in this at this retreat, it became apparent, as I'm in the in between, not joining in this, what felt like a condemnation. It was like condemning of a soul, a condemning of a person, of a God given person, felt so wrong. And I watched a couple other women back off. I watched a couple other women move out of the space. And it wasn't because I am on either side that I was so upset. It was because there was so much hate, and it was so palpable. And I was like, God, what will you do here? But why am I here? You called me here. I'm here. What do you want me to do here? I clearly am in the in between. I'm not fitting in. And in the noise and in the screaming and in the yelling, in this fiery space, God said, pray. Just hold my light here. And so I planted my feet where I was, and I put my arms up, and I just prayed. And I created a light around the room, a light around these beautiful souls, around the women that were like me outside and didn't feel part of the circle, around the fear, so that it could be dismantled with love. And that was it. Um, and it was it, but in a ginormous way. And so coming into this experience and walking away, and I haven't shared this with anyone yet. You guys are the first. Uh, I really sat with, what is my role in this life? What is my role as a healer and a medium? Like, what is it God has planned for me? Because this world doesn't feel like I fit in it anymore. I don't feel like I fit. And I'm sure you are listening and thinking, huh, I'm not sure I do. Because if this is touching you, it, you've been in the in between. You've been in the in between and you've been wondering, how do I express myself? How do I move through all this confusion? How do I show up, pause, and ask God for help when all of these other things are happening? And possibly, you've had moments of leaning into some storylines of, taking your beliefs to a deeper level, because how can you not? And I just want to give you this. I want to give you that the power of fear is so great that it wants to dismantle love in so many ways. And so your job as a sensitive light worker, you call yourself a healer, maybe not, as a God being, right? God created you in his image. He created you to be the light. He created you to have these deep experiences, and some experiences are more uncomfortable than others. Some experiences are going to crack us open, and they're going to be hard and they're going to be painful. But what I know to be true in my own life and in all of the people that I've been able to read and the people that I've channeled from heaven is, through those cracks, light comes. Through those cracks, through that brokenness, which isn't really broken, by the way, it's just more room for love. It's just more room for love to come in. If we allow, if we desire more love, if we say yes to it, then yes, it can be. So recognizing when we are in the in between, that there's nothing wrong with us. This is a big one. Like, there's nothing wrong with you for not wanting to watch the news, for getting off of social, for going like, what is this post about? Or trying to find the answers. There's nothing wrong with you. That's normal and natural. And God can inform you and he can fill you and he can create more pathways for his love to be here, especially during this time when there is this great separation, this great divide going on. And how do we lean into the discomfort? How do we lean into the discomfort when, here you are part of a circle, and like me, I had to back up and I'm like, I don't belong here. This isn't me. This isn't me. And sometimes that means it's with family. Sometimes it's with our friend group. Sometimes we can't be the popular one to go along with the trend because it doesn't sit right with us. But we also aren't going to be the one that's going to be firing off political views, opinionation, and we are never going to condemn someone because we are not the judge. God is the ultimate judge. What we can do, what we absolutely 100% can do, is we can pray. We can pray for our heart's desire. We can pray for God to come into that person that we're seeing the darkness in, the fear in. So trusting our inner voice, here's where we're going to lean into intuition. I'm going to lean into your gifts. I want to talk about this because it's really, really important for you to have a clear understanding how you're built, how you're wired, and how you can move about this planet with a little bit more ease, because it's taking me decades to get here and to be confident in the woman that God made me to be. And I don't say that lightly. I say that really, it's taken me a long time to get here, to have this type of confidence. Um, it wasn't something I was just born with. And it wasn't something that I could fight for. It was something I actually had to settle into. And maybe you too understand that. So this is the settling in. Listening to our intuition. Here are our practical tips. Is intuition is not in our head. It's not here. We can't think it and we aren't going to see it. A lot of you will use your senses to sense the outside world in order to feel safe, which I totally get. If you grew up being hyper vigilant in any way, shape, or form, this is how you're using your gifts. And your psychic powers are being depleted because they're being sucked from you, because you're being stuck in the noise of the world. Intuition is subtle, it's in the body. Reclaiming our truth is understanding how to come back in one place at a time, coming into the soles of your feet, landing in, feeling your place here on earth, holding your internal senses all the way down into the soles of your feet and being present, being able to quiet the noise of the chatter, both from social media, from news outlets, from exiting our bodies and being in so we can be with God. Hearing our intuition requires us to be in the frequency of love, not fear. We cannot hear truth. We cannot hear God when we have anger and unforgiveness, when we aren't being compassionate. It is not real. What we will hear is more fear propaganda. And we can channel more of that dark energy innocently, not on purpose, because when we're not in alignment, there is going to be that dark energy that wants to come in to dismantle this world, to dismantle humans. And that's what we need to really be careful of. Light workers need to be awakened to the voice of love and the voice of fear. So it's in our body. It's a sensation. It comes from within. God's voice is clear. It doesn't sound like ours. It doesn't sound like the outside. It's gentle, but authoritative. The process, let's talk about the process for noticing our heightened senses and the power within those heightened senses, right? So the process of noticing our heightened senses is, am I exiting my body to read the world around me? And this could look like you feel depleted in your gut. This looks like you are seeing energy around people. You could be sensing it in your gut, physically seeing it. You could be feeling it all over your body, more like empath energy. You can get a bad taste in your mouth. You can get a sound like stay away. When we are in our body, it's a clear guidance system. When we're doing it from the outside point of view, though, when we're disassociated or on the outside, constantly reading and channeling that way, we're going to have clear anxiety because it's going to bring us to wanting to create future. It's going to bring us into our head. It's going to bring us into moving in a chaotic way. And we're not going to be in our body and we're not going to trust what we innately know. So we resource, right? I teach this all the time. We resource what we're receiving in order to ask God, in order to say, hey, I'm noticing this. Is this real? Is this you? Is this light? Or am I calling more dark in? Am I in the chaos? Bring me out. Bring me back in my body. Holy Spirit, come. Fill me. Increase my faith. Separate me. Take away what doesn't belong to me. Only that which is of God can come to me. So knowing how to discern between our outwardly senses, which we do need to navigate the world, and our heavenly senses, which are our gifts, our kingdom gifts. These are the gifts that God has given us. They're not something that we just go and get. So many people will ask me, like, can I just become a medium? Can I try to be like, what I can say about that is yes, we have abilities to commune with heaven. God has given them to us. If he's called you into it, absolutely. And if you are practice in your gifts, meaning you're inward and you're able to commune and God has asked you to do this, it's going to be easy. It's going to be effortless. And if you're the type of person that is trying to get there and is trying to make it happen, I'm just going to say, like, possibly you might be going down a road that isn't yours. So ask and it will be given. Everybody has been given gifts of the Spirit, every single soul. Every soul looks different. So, however, God is calling you into your gifts, trust it. Trusting what God has given us and holding that as golden and not seeking more, 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 more. This is the golden rule. Like, trust that God has given you exactly what you need, that you don't have to become something that you're not. But a lot of us will do that. We'll try to improve who we are to make it into more because the outside world has shown us a semblance of what it's supposed to look like, or tell us what it's supposed to look like. What's the success supposed to look like? What are you supposed to do with all that you feel and know? And it's going to look different. Not everybody's going to be showing up this way. I work with so many women in so many careers that are tuned in, that are receiving messages. They don't call themselves medium, but they're lawyers, and they're guiding their people. They're holding their hand. They're showing up for them. Uh, they're nurses. They're psychiatrists. I work with so many therapy uh, psychologists, psychiatrists, people, because they're called into healing and helping people, right? I've worked with priests that work with people as well. It's just a matter of what is God calling you in your profession that's lighting you up, and how you can serve from that point of view. And this leads us into that purpose work, right? And trusting your intuition, trusting that you have a divine purpose, and you don't have to seek it, you have to be it. Seeking can get confusing. It can throw us off because our senses, again, are outside, and we'll look to feel comforted, loved by the outside world, supported, and it'll always leave us feeling empty. Empty, 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 empty. I say that again, empty. When I decided to trust who God said I am, what that looked like is I could notice myself where I actually didn't belong, and I was in that in between. I could actually put a voice to it. But when I couldn't put a voice to it, when I knew that I was just kept trying to fit in, uh, and take what other people had to say above what God was showing me, that's when it was messy. So you're not alone. In the in between, you are the light. You're the light. You're the peacemaker. You're the waymaker for love to come through. I want you to trust that. I want you to feel it in your body. I want you to feel your gut right now. You pause, maybe put your hand on your heart and hand on your belly, and just really breathe into that. The waymaker, the peacemaker, where the light comes in. There's nothing wrong with you for not feeling like you fit into that circle of women, to feel like you're on the outside, that, you haven't found your space yet. Because let me tell you what, your space is here now. I guarantee you, God brought you here for a reason. This is the space where you go deeper into your own truth, the semblance of what you know, and we start expanding upon it with God's word, with prayer, with light. When we learn to listen deeply to our soul, when we have somatic practices, when we have been woven with God's word, it's woven into our fabric and our being, this is when our gifts start to illuminate and really start to become on board and vibrant. So I want to leave you with this. I want to leave you with an invitation to join me in the sanctuary. It's a brand new offer. This is a brand new space. It has been made holy. God has called me into this, and He is showing me that what we're going to do in the sanctuary is going to be really special. Think of it as a place of discipleship, of where healers go to fill up, to hold sacred space, to pray over first themselves and then others, to hold the love without opinionation, without judgment, but with compassion, with forgiveness. And know that right action is going to be birthed from within us. We'll have the voice of God come in and lead us into what is meant for us and where it is meant for us to lead. So I invite you into the sanctuary. I'm going to leave the link below in the show notes. And my hope is that I will see you inside there, and that you will begin to understand that the in between isn't the problem. The in between is the calling. My friend, may God bless you and keep you. May your body be filled with so much love, and that wherever you see the need to send a prayer, may you know that no prayer is too small, that every prayer is heard, and we need you. The world needs you. You are a miracle. God bless you.